Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to English 1102. I wanted to thank each of you, Jacky, Joel, Frida, Ahmed, Sanie, Dave, George, Jessica, Judy, Erikas, Mariel, Mickey, and Baeleice for an excellent semester. I have been so thrilled to work with you these past 8 weeks. Of course, it's flown by because it's only 8 weeks, and we've really jam-packed a lot of research, insight, and personal learning into this semester. I wanted to thank you for coming with me on this journey of like the community needs assessment. I work at Aurora University a lot of the times with Masters of Social Work students, and I've come across this project as something that's has a real tangible impact on the community, not just sort of writing a research paper to write a research paper, but I think it's really fantastic that you've pulled together ideas from communities that you live in, issues that you're concerned about, and can actually raise and discuss with people in our communities today. Community needs assessments are things that appear in various fields. This one right here is from the CDC, and so of course the CDC has a whole table of instructions and guidelines about how to create a community needs assessment specific to health changes. So it says community needs assessment provides community leaders with a snapshot of local policy, systems, and environmental change strategies currently in place and helps to identify areas for improvement. With this data, communities can map out a course for health improvement by creating strategies to make positive and sustainable changes in their communities. And really, we can just replace health improvement here with, just X amount of different kinds of approaches to our community. There's also community needs assessments for Child Welfare Information Gateway. So you'll see that community needs assessments are an important tool, but for various disciplines and various communities. Also one here for the Community Action Partnership. This one's about helping those in poverty. So community needs, just the sort of overall structure, I have found to be a really useful tool for students to just communicate their ideas, show their strengths, what they know a lot about already. Maybe it's a recent move to a community, or maybe you've been a lifetime member of a community, but all of you have come up with a really fantastic project. I've loved watching your questions evolve over the past 8 weeks to really specific kinds of approaches and questions that you have about the status quo of your communities. You guys have had a great dynamic with one another throughout these 8 weeks. I've appreciated your Composition Corner posts. In Unit 8, what we're going to be doing is giving a chance for each of you to actually read each other's letters and comment on them to two other students so that you can see what the final projects look like. Of course, you can read through more than two projects, but I do want you to focus on two peer projects for this week as our students are submitting their drafts. You'll be able to see their drafts and leave a sort of final comment. I'll talk about that in just a moment. As we close out our class, I wanted to just remind you that our course objectives are what have guided the kinds of materials you've looked at and responded to and created over the past 8 weeks. And so as we look through these course objectives, I hope that you're feeling comfortable with achieving these different points. For example, thinking about a discourse community, which is also going to be your audience for your letter. Thinking about a research question, a research plan in digital and print media or genres, presenting findings to an audience, assessing the feasibility of the research inquiry. You're constantly hypothesizing and reinventing that question as you've come across research, as you've had discussions with your peers, and as you've consulted with librarians. You've used methods of citation. One of the important milestones for this class is that you're comfortable with summarizing, paraphrasing, and directly quoting, something that we're really just starting to get into in this final project. But at least you have the tools now for responding to, at least an APA format, a familiarity with how to start the conversation with a source that is sort of silent, right? Something that's written, something that's textual. How do I respond? How do I draw in that source into my own research? And you've all done a wonderful job of that with the annotations. I wanted to spotlight both Jacky and Frida, who had, the annotations in general were just fantastic. I loved reading through your research. And again, thank you for letting me learn alongside you as you're collecting your sources. It's one of the benefits of course being a teacher is to be able to see the projects and learn so much from you. And I wanted to spotlight Frida and Jacky's annotations here. You'll see them attached to this this announcement because they've done just a really nice job of not only synthesizing the sources, but they've also done this kind of meta commentary where they're talking through the sources and how they're applicable to their research question. Again, creating that bridge between what research is saying and showing and what they're interested in learning. So thank you again. Congratulations to Frida and to Jacky for, just really going above and beyond with those annotations. Not to say that there weren't some other stellar annotations. I was really just generally thrilled to see what kinds of sources you've culled together over the past 8 weeks or 7 weeks. And there are actually, a handful of other students I would like to have spotlighted too, but I would like to just give attention to Frida and Jacky, whose annotations I'm was given permission to share with you here at the as attached to this announcement. I also wanted to just say congratulations because I know we haven't completely finished our class yet, but I think I've been getting emails from the college saying that, students are generally not doing well this semester, that students are, having a hard time completing classes or completing assignments. And I totally sympathize with students who are, feeling the pressure of COVID and jobs and continuing life as quote unquote normal. And I think that's been a really a big difficulty for a great swath of students. And I just wanted to say, congratulations for persisting, for really just putting your best effort forward, whether that looked like, trying to catch up on work, whether that's staying on top of work. It's a real challenge, and I know that each of us have our own specific circumstances that we're working from, and I appreciate both your flexibility with me, and I'm thankful that you've been kind of flexible with each other as well as we continue through these 8 very quick weeks. As we approach our final week in Unit 8, I wanted to show you just a few things that we're going to be covering. One is that at the end of this week, I'd like you to turn in your final revised letter for change. Before you revise your letter, though, I'd like everyone to submit peer feedback. I would like each of you to look at 2 other letters for change by Wednesday of this week. I want you to see what other students are working on. A lot of you have been tracking or kind of following other students, and I really appreciate your investment in each other. So that's sort of the main focus this week, is thinking about revision. I've also provided you with 2 extra credit opportunities. Again, don't overload your plate. Just know that these are here. A few students said, can we have some extra credit? And there are always resources and opportunities. I think that, if you're willing to put forth the effort, I'm absolutely happy to give you extra, reward your extra efforts. This week, I'd like you to go back into our drafts. Everyone submitted drafts from the Unit 7 Letter for Change unit. And you can actually see these units by clicking here. I've just linked the same journal from last week. And you can see that Erikas and Mickey have already submitted their drafts. And all of you will have them, submitted by Friday, Sunday at the very latest. And what I'd like you to do is to read through 2 other peer project drafts. You can select the student that you like to respond to, the students that you'd like to respond to, but I would like you to please respond to those first who haven't received any responses, just so that we can all have something to work from. But basically what you're going to be doing is you're not going to be kind of like policing the letters. Rather, you're going to just present in a comment to your peers points about the following 3 things. This is called reader-based feedback. And basically what it does is it eliminates any feeling that you have to like be a grammar police or that you have to tell a student that they're doing something wrong. And really what it does is it puts you in the position of just reflecting on the piece. How did this letter impress you? What did you learn from reading this drafted letter? What impressed you the most? Use specific references, quote from the letter, so that that student knows what they're doing well. What sticks in your mind after you finish previewing this draft? Then I'd like you to write just what did this suggest? What did this letter, when reading this piece, what else came to mind? Was there anything else that, the scope of the letter, the evidence that was used, the claims that were raised, is there anything missing, or is it pretty holistic in its approach, especially when you're considering who this letter is addressed to? Are there any gaps that need to be addressed? And that's kind of encompassed in this question too. How might that student improve? What suggestions do you have? Think about specifically voice. Remember, we talked about Dino Mengestu creating a sense of voice in his Home at Last piece. The tone, the readability, clarity, and the purpose. basically, I'd like you to go through the kind of final 6 points that I've included here in your assignment, just to kind of go through and see, is there any kind of major gap? I'm going to be using these 6 points, 7 points when I'm assessing you. This is basically a rubric. Did the student describe what actions they hope this audience will make? Did the students, you know, mostly I'm interested in, did they include the 3 of the best sources from your primary and secondary research? Um, of course, you can include more than that, but going through this list and seeing, are there any gaps, and what in particular did the student do well? I want this to be an opportunity to give feedback that's both, impressive, and also, a little bit of room for improvement between Wednesday and Friday, the final submission. So again, you can add the comments by just simply clicking back into our journals from last week, which include the drafts. So if I were to respond to Erikas, I could download his draft, read it, and then my comment here would be impress, would include the impress and the address portions. So in addition to the reader-based feedback, the only other thing I'd like you to do is submit your final letter for change for 100 points on Friday. And basically you're going to just revise your letter based on the feedback you receive, based on also some ideas you have of your own, maybe things that you've wanted to change. I would like you to include the email address and contact information for this letter's recipient. So if you do decide after I give you my final comments to revise and submit this letter, you know exactly where it can be sent to. And then you might also decide to add some hyperlinks or images where applicable to this letter. Feel free, because this is an electronic copy, and so I would be happy for you to add hyperlinks where needed, and or personal images or photographs as evidence as part of your letter. Just an aside, when you submit a letter, it's always best to attach it as a PDF rather than a document, and in the actual PDF you can potentially sign your document, which I've just figured out a couple of years ago is a really useful tool. I don't know how many of you have tried this before, but you can actually take a picture of your signature and upload it to Acrobat, and whenever you need to add your signature in, you click, and then you can save your draft as the signed draft and submit it. And I think it looks very professional. So if and when you do end up sending your letters on, which I do hope you do, you can feel free to try to send them as a PDF with your actual signature attached to that letter. I think it will look most professional in that format. 2 extra credit opportunities. Again, don't overload yourself. These are just optional things if you have time. One is to create a voice recording for future students. I began our class with some students from the earlier 8-week session, and so I would love to continue the tradition where you're welcomed into class. My next students in the spring of 2022 will be welcomed to this class with your voices, and to do that you simply can use the Vocaroo recording that we've tried out before. Click on this bold underlined section and you can create just send me the link to your recording for 10 points. Also, there's George from this class was telling me how much the writing, reading, and speech assistance lab at COD, this free service, has benefited him. And so I wanted to give you all a chance to let you know a little bit about this resource. There's a link here that tells you more about what this is, but it's a chance to meet with professional tutors here at College of DuPage who will review and work with you on any of your projects, your writing projects or speech projects, for free. And so you can do this both in person, remotely, or asynchronously. You can actually just email your work to them too to get some feedback. This is a great service. I'm not sure how many of you know about it, but I wanted you, if you are interested, to get additional feedback beyond our class, to kind of explore this tool for 20 points. You can have a consultation and send me a brief confirmation of your date, time, and workshop consultant, and the feedback you received, again, to just click here to upload that information. Please don't overload your plate. I know this is a lot of information, a lot of different resources I wanted you to know about at our college, and so I hope you take advantage of it at some point. I want you to know that it's there, but in this final week, feel free to either engage with this source or not. It's totally up to you. As we end this semester, I just wanted to thank you again for your dedication to these projects. You're just genuine enthusiasm for helping your communities, your concerns, and all of the insight that you bring to these projects, your life experiences, your connections, and your general sort of enthusiasm has been really enlightening. Thank you so much for a great class.